Let's talk about the US economy in 2025. If you're looking for a story about a spectacular collapse, a 2008-style crisis, you're in the wrong place. The reality is far quieter and in many ways more unsettling. The system didn't break. It just became incredibly expensive to keep it from breaking. And that's the real story that's affecting all of us. On the surface, things look fine. Jobs exist, the stores are open. The markets are still humming along. There's no mass panic in the streets. But beneath that calm surface, the gears of the economy are running hotter, tighter, and are more fragile than most people realize. This isn't because of one single bad decision or one big event. It's the result of years of accumulated stress. Everything, from government spending to your household budget, now costs more just to keep stable. Let's start with the government. You hear a lot of talk about national debt, but the problem in 2025 isn't that the US is out of money. The real issue is that it's out of room to maneuver. The United States isn't struggling to pay its bills because it's a poor nation. It's struggling because the bills are growing much faster than the economy that is supposed to support them. Think about it this way. A huge and growing slice of all federal spending is now going just to pay interest on past debt. This isn't money for new schools, better roads, or services that you can actually see and feel in your daily life. It's just the cost of promises we made years ago. By itself, this doesn't cause a sudden crash. It causes something much more subtle, a crowding out effect. As more and more money is funneled into servicing debt, there's less flexibility left for everything else. There's less money for innovation, for infrastructure, for social programs, and, crucially, less of a cushion when something inevitably goes wrong. For the average person, this shows up in frustrating ways. You see programs that are announced with great fanfare, but never quite seem to improve things. You see infrastructure projects that stay almost fixed for years, and you see political fights in Washington that feel endless, unproductive, and completely detached from your reality. It's not necessarily that leaders do that the entire system has less financial wiggle room than it used to. The pie isn't getting smaller, but the slice needed just to maintain the status quo is getting bigger every year. Now, let's bring this down to a more personal level. Remember when the Federal Reserve raised interest rates to fight inflation? The idea was to cool down the economy, but those high rates stuck around for a lot longer than many people expected, and they didn't exactly fix the problem. Instead, they just changed who pays the price. Your grocery bill didn't go back to 2019 levels. Your car insurance premium didn't suddenly get cheaper. Your rent didn't magically drop. Those prices, once they went up, pretty much stayed up. So, what did change? The cost of debt? This created a huge divide. If you had a lot of savings, you started earning a little bit more in interest, which was nice. But if you were like most people and carried any kind of debt, you started paying a lot more. Your credit card balance, your car loan, your student debt, the numbers might have stayed the same, but the monthly pain of servicing that debt got a lot heavier. This created that strange, confusing feeling for so many in the middle class. I'm working hard, I got a raise. Why does it still feel like I'm falling behind? Why is everything so tight? That feeling isn't just in your head. It's not a psychological issue. It's a structural one. The cost of just existing in the modern economy has fundamentally increased. And what about the housing market? Everyone was waiting for the bubble to pop, for a repeat of 2008, but it didn't happen. The housing market didn't crash. It froze. Here's why. Homeowners who were lucky enough to lock in super low mortgage rates before the hikes have absolutely no incentive to sell their homes and move. Why would they trade a 3% mortgage for a 7% one? So, they're staying put. On the other side, you have potential buyers who are facing a double whammy. Home prices never really came down to an affordable level, and now the loans to buy them are incredibly expensive. The result is a stalemate. Fewer homes are for sale. Fewer people are moving, and the dream of homeownership for first-time buyers feels more distant than ever. This isn't a bubble popping loudly, it's a ladder being quietly pulled up, leaving a whole generation of people feeling stuck. For millions of households, this means renting for longer, delaying major life plans like starting a family, and feeling like you're behind even when you're doing everything right. This new reality extends to the entire financial system. It's stable, yes, but it's also become far less forgiving. After years of economic stress, from the pandemic to inflation, banks and lenders have become much more cautious. They're pickier about who they lend to. Getting approved for a loan is harder. The margin for error in your personal finances has become razor thin. Mistakes cost more, and there's less tolerance for any kind of financial surprise. You don't really notice this when everything in your life is going perfectly. But the moment you have an unexpected car repair, a medical bill, or a temporary job loss, you feel it immediately. The safety nets that used to exist, both formal and informal, have gotten smaller. That's not a sign of panic. It's just the new reality of risk management in a strange system. So here's the uncomfortable truth about the economy of 2025. It is not collapsing. It is aging under a heavy load. It can still function, but it demands more from everyone inside it. It demands more discipline, more personal resilience, and frankly, more sacrifice. The old, comfortable illusion that steady economic growth would magically solve all our problems is fading. And what's replacing it isn't a sudden disaster. It's a slow, creeping sense of constraint. So, what does all this mean for you, without the drama and the hype? It means stability now costs more than it used to, both for the country and for your family. It means financial errors are punished faster and more harshly than before. And it means that personal progress feels slower, even when you're putting in the same amount of effort, or even more. This isn't a prediction of doom. Catastrophe is not inevitable. But it does mean that the margin for comfort, the buffer zone we all used to have, is thinner than it's ever been. And thin margins don't announce themselves with a loud bang. They show up gradually. They show up in the stress you feel at the end of the month, in the tough trade-offs you have to make, and in the plans you have to postpone for later. And that brings us to the most important takeaway. A system doesn't have to collapse to completely change your life. It just has to stop absorbing the shocks for you. It has to pass more of that risk and that cost directly down to the individual. That is the real, fundamental shift happening right now. And it's a change most people won't notice as a single event, but will one day look up and realize just how much more careful, how much more disciplined they've had to become just to stay in the exact same place. Thanks for watching. If this perspective resonated with you, consider subscribing for more content that looks beyond the headlines. We'll see you in the next one.